My wife said she was just friendly. Then I found out she was pregnant by another man. True story of betrayal and revenge. Hi, now I will tell you my story. You will be shocked. Imagine this. Your wife says she's just being friendly with strangers. Then your brother sends you a photo of her laughing with another man. A week later, she tells you she's pregnant. But your doctor already said you can't have kids. What would you do? The twist I didn't see coming. That was the text from my brother, Tyler, with a time-stamped photo of my wife, Madison, leaning across a bistro table, fingers over a stranger's wrist like they were sharing a secret. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I typed, "LOL, okay, detective," and put my phone face down, pretending my hands weren't shaking. Here's the twist that hit me before the photo could finish downloading. An hour earlier, my mother-in-law, Crystal, had called crying happy tears to say Madison was pregnant. We'd been trying for a year. Except I was just told I might be infertile without surgery. My urologist used a term that sounded like a villain, obstructive azoospermia, and said natural conception would be very unlikely until we fixed it. I hadn't told anyone yet. I was still swallowing the word. So, picture this stack. Brother claims he's seen Maddie flirting with randoms. Her mom's celebrating a miracle, and I'm on the couch staring at a wall, hearing my own pulse. We'd been together 8 years, married 3. Trendy, city apartment, 2 rescue cats, joint playlists, Sunday pancakes, the whole Instagram carousel. We were fine, or at least I told myself that. Lately, she kept her phone face down, took girls' nights, and said I was smothering the vibe if I asked for a quick text back. When I nudged for a date night, she'd smile thinly and say I should work on trusting. I'd heard this script before, in someone else's story where the cheater flips the blame onto the partner. Madison's family is unique. Crystal believes sage smoke can cure car trouble. Her stepdad, Ron, wears a Bluetooth at Thanksgiving and makes notes about everyone's energy. They love hard and forgive easy, the kind of people who can talk about boundaries for 2 hours and then still borrow your car without asking. My parents are the opposite. Dad, retired firefighter, policy on feelings is name it and fix it, and mom has radar for nonsense. If I told them any of this, they'd start packing boxes. I didn't tell anyone. I texted Maddie, "How's your day?" She replied with a selfie from a patio somewhere, sunglasses, glossy smile, a cocktail. Girls' night kickoff. She wrote, "My brother's photo loaded another angle. Same drink, same patio, but with a man I didn't recognize and Madison's laugh you can hear through a still image." I put my phone down and told myself to breathe. People flirt. Photos lie. Miracles happen. But as I sat there, the apartment felt like a stage set, props arranged around a punchline I wasn't in on. Somewhere between Tyler's, "She's doing it again," and Crystal's, "Baby on board." I realized I was standing at the lip of a cliff, pretending it was a curb. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the photo like it was a short film. Madison's manicured hand resting on that guy's wrist, her head tilted, mouth open mid-laugh. The glow on her face wasn't from candlelight. It was from excitement. You can tell the difference when you've been with someone long enough. At 1 a.m., I texted my brother. "Are you sure it was her?" He replied immediately. "Positive. I saw her last week too. Same guy, different place." I stared at the screen for a long time. Tyler isn't dramatic. He's a math teacher who alphabetizes his spices. If he says something, it's solid. When Maddie came home around 2 o'clock, she was humming and smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. Or maybe I'd just never noticed it before. She smiled when she saw me still up. "Babe, you're awake. You didn't have to wait up." "I couldn't sleep," I said, pretending to look casual. "Where were you again?" "Girls' night, duh. You know, Lisa and the gang." "Why?" She said it so easily, like reading off a grocery list. That's when my stomach turned. The same Lisa who'd moved to Seattle 6 months ago. "You're saying you were with Lisa?" I asked carefully. She blinked, half a beat too late. "Oh, no, not that Lisa. My coworker Lisa. From marketing. You don't know her." A lie, clean and confident. She walked to the bathroom, kicked off her heels, and started taking off her jewelry. I watched her reflection in the mirror, the way she avoided my eyes. "You smell like men's cologne," I said quietly. She froze for a fraction of a second, then forced a laugh. "It's from hugging people goodbye. You're being paranoid again." That word, paranoid, hit like a slap. I'd heard it before, from a friend who discovered his wife's affair only after she made him feel insane for months. I wanted to scream, but something in me went still instead. She crawled into bed and curled away from me. "Stop overthinking," she murmured. "I love you, you know that." The next morning, I found a receipt on the counter from a restaurant downtown. 2 entrees, 2 drinks, time-stamped at the same hour she claimed to be with her co-workers. I took a photo of it, hands shaking. That afternoon, my mom called just to check in. I almost told her everything, but she was talking about how proud she was that Maddie and I never had drama. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted iron. When I hung up, I stared at the photo of that receipt and realized something ugly. I was starting to hope she'd slip up again, just so I could stop doubting myself. That night, when she came home humming again, I noticed a smudge of lipstick on her collarbone, not her shade. The next morning, I decided I needed proof. Not suspicions, not gut feelings, proof. I wasn't going to be another husband ranting online about paranoia while everyone else saw what he couldn't. So, I did something I'd never imagined doing. I installed a small tracking app on her tablet, the one synced with her phone. She'd left it at home, logged in, face up on the kitchen counter. It felt wrong, but so did being lied to in my own house. By noon, I saw a pin drop on the map. It wasn't near her office. It was in a quiet residential area about 15 minutes away. I told myself she might be meeting a client, or maybe running errands. But my heart was already pounding. I grabbed my jacket and drove there. Every red light felt like a punishment for being naive. When I turned onto that street, I spotted her car parked outside a small, 2-story brick townhouse. The blinds were half drawn, and I could see her silhouette and another figure. A man. It was surreal, like watching someone else's nightmare. I parked 2 houses down and just sat there. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. But then, she stepped out onto the porch with him. He was tall, clean-cut, mid-30s, the kind of guy you'd trust to sell you a house or fix your Wi-Fi. She laughed at something he said and reached for his arm. My wife, the same woman who once told me she wasn't the flirty type. I took a photo. My hands were shaking so bad it blurred, but it was enough. When she came home later, I played dumb. "How was work?" I asked, my voice steady. She smiled easily. "Busy. Meetings all day. Exhausted." I studied her face. "You didn't stop anywhere after?" She frowned, pretending to think. "Just the grocery store." "Why?" "You sure?" "Yes, babe. What's this about?" She even kissed my forehead, like I was the crazy one. That night, while she showered, I checked her phone. Face ID still worked while she slept. She was out cold, breathing softly beside me. I hovered the screen over her face, and it unlocked. What I found made me sit on the floor. A hidden chat thread under a man's name saved as Mandy HR. Messages like, "Still thinking about last night. You looked amazing in that dress. Next time, no dress. Same place tomorrow." And one photo, blurry, close, his hand on her thigh under a restaurant table. Her wedding ring visible. I wanted to throw up. The next morning, she asked why I was quiet. I said I hadn't slept well. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and left for work. I watched her drive off, then whispered to the empty apartment. "I know, Maddie." And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel paranoid. I felt powerful. I didn't plan a big movie-style showdown. I wanted truth, not drama. But when you live with a liar, everything turns into theater anyway. That night, I cooked dinner, her favorite, honey garlic salmon, and set the table like nothing was wrong. When she walked in, all smiles, I could almost convince myself she was still the woman I married. Almost. We ate, talked about the day, and halfway through, I said, "Funny thing, I ran into your coworker Lisa downtown." Her fork froze midair. "Lisa? Which one?" "The one you said you were out with last Friday." She blinked, eyes darting to the side, searching for an escape route. "Oh, you must have seen someone who looked like her. She wasn't feeling well that night." I smiled. "That's strange. She said she moved to Seattle months ago." Silence. You could have heard the hum of the refrigerator. Then she tried to laugh it off. "You're seriously tracking my friends now? Babe, you're acting paranoid again." That word again, paranoid. My hand tightened on the edge of the table. I reached into my pocket, unlocked my phone, and slid it across to her. On the screen, the photo of her and the man on the porch, his arm around her waist. Her face drained of color. "Where did you get that?" "So it's you," I said quietly. She stared at the screen, then at me, lips parting but no words coming out. Finally, she exhaled shakily. It's not what it looks like. I almost laughed. Madison, it's exactly what it looks like. She jumped up from the chair, pacing. Okay, fine. We had dinner a few times. He's just a friend. I needed someone to talk to. You've been distant. Stop. My voice cracked on that word. You don't get to turn this on me. Her eyes filled with tears. It was never physical. Then what's this? I opened another photo. The one from her messages, his hand on her thigh. She covered her mouth, whispering, "Oh God." Then, suddenly, she dropped to her knees beside me, gripping my arm. I'm sorry. Please, it was a mistake. I didn't know how to tell you. You lied every day, Madison. She was crying now, full ugly sobs. I swear it's over. He meant nothing. Please don't tell my parents. Please, Daniel. Hearing my name like that, desperate, trembling, should have softened me. But it didn't. I felt hollow, like she'd already taken everything she could. I stood up. You need to pack a bag. She gasped, eyes wide. Where am I supposed to go? Your mom's house. Maybe she can sage the guilt out of you. Her face twisted. You're cruel. No, I said. You are. I just finally noticed. She fell silent, still on her knees, and whispered, I'm pregnant. And for the second time that week, my world went black around the edges. When she said those words, I'm pregnant, the air left my lungs. For a moment, I thought I misheard her. What? I whispered. She wiped her eyes, stood slowly, and repeated it. I'm pregnant, Daniel. I just found out last week. I was going to tell you tonight, I swear. The room felt like it tilted. My mind raced back to my urologist's words, the quiet office, the pamphlet he handed me. Low fertility due to obstruction. Surgery required for conception. How? I finally managed. How is that possible, Maddie? She blinked fast, her face shifting through panic, guilt, and something that looked like calculation. What do you mean how? It's yours, obviously. Obviously, I said, my voice flat. Except my doctor says I can't have kids. Not without surgery, which I haven't had. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Then she stammered. Doctors make mistakes. Maybe you misheard him. You always overthink things. I laughed, sharp, humorless. You're doubling down? Right now? She crossed her arms, defensive now. I don't have to stand here and be accused of what exactly? Adultery? Deceit? Playing house while you meet your boyfriend in the afternoons? Her expression cracked again, tears spilling down. Daniel, please. It's yours. I promise. I don't even know how that doctor could say that. I looked at her and realized something brutal. She was still lying, even when cornered. It wasn't instinct anymore. It was muscle memory. That night, she didn't leave. She cried herself to sleep on the couch, muttering fragments. Didn't mean to. It just happened. He was so kind when you weren't. I sat awake in the bedroom, staring at the ceiling, feeling something inside me shift. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She made coffee, hummed softly, even asked if I wanted eggs. Like we'd had a minor disagreement about laundry. I couldn't take it. We're getting a paternity test, I said flatly. Her face went rigid. You're disgusting. I can't believe you'd even. I can't believe you'd cheat, I snapped. But here we are. That night she packed a suitcase, slamming drawers, calling me heartless. I didn't stop her. She left for her mom's place, still shouting that I was ruining everything. An hour later, her mother called me. Daniel, Crystal said gently, you can't stress Maddie like this. She's carrying your child. I almost laughed again. You're sure about that? She hesitated. Well, yes. Why wouldn't I be? I wanted to tell her everything. The photos, the messages, the truth. But instead, I just said, maybe ask your daughter that. Then I hung up and sat in silence, realizing this wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was warfare, and she was still firing shots from behind her mother's sympathy. The next few days were chaos. Her family called nonstop, Crystal crying, her stepdad Ron leaving long voicemails about protecting the energy of the unborn. Her sister, Bree, texted, she's scared, Daniel. You're supposed to be her safe place. Safe place. I nearly threw my phone. Meanwhile, my own parents were the opposite. When I finally cracked and told them, my dad's silence on the phone was scarier than yelling. After a few seconds, he said, you have the evidence. File for separation. Mom just whispered, oh, sweetheart. Come home. I needed space to think. So I took a few days off work and drove to my parents' cabin by the lake. It used to be our favorite getaway, mine and Maddie's. The place where I'd proposed to her under fairy lights she'd hung in the trees. Sitting there alone felt like trespassing on a memory that no longer belonged to me. On the third day, I got a call from my brother, Tyler. "You need to see this," he said. He sent me a screenshot, Maddie's Instagram, a new private account. Her username was a variation of her maiden name. The profile photo? Her in a sundress, visibly pregnant, holding hands with the same man from the restaurant. The caption read, "Starting a new chapter. Sometimes love shows up when you least expect it." My stomach turned. She hadn't even waited a week. I called her, voice shaking with disbelief. "You made a new account?" She sighed dramatically. "Daniel, you shouldn't be spying on me. You've always been controlling." "Controlling?" I choked out. "You were living a double life." "It wasn't double," she snapped. "You were never really there for me. You worked, you disappeared into your routines, and you found someone else?" Her voice softened. "I didn't plan this. It just happened. But you'll be fine. You're strong." The calmness in her tone broke something inside me. She wasn't begging anymore. She'd rewritten the story completely. Later that night, Bree messaged me again. "I know you hate her, but please don't ruin her reputation. She's struggling." I typed back. She ruined her own reputation. And then, because revenge was buzzing in my veins, I sent Bree one of the photos, the porch photo with Maddie's hand in another man's. "Tell your sister the next time she posts about new love, she might want to mention she was still married when it started." 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Maddie screaming on the other end, her voice cracking. "You're cruel, Daniel. You're vindictive." "No," I said, my voice cold. "I'm done being quiet." And for the first time since it all began, I slept through the night. By morning, it was everywhere. Our entire circle knew. I didn't have to tell anyone. Screenshots travel faster than shame. Crystal called me first, crying. "Daniel, how could you humiliate my daughter like this?" I said quietly, "Your daughter did that herself." Then I hung up. An hour later my phone buzzed again. "Tyler. Bro, I just saw the comments. Half her friends are calling you controlling, the other half are asking who the guy is. You okay?" I wasn't, but I told him I was fine. By evening, Maddie showed up at my apartment. I hadn't seen her since she left for her mom's. She looked different, tired, pale, eyes swollen. "You win," she said the moment I opened the door. "There's no winning here," I said. She stepped inside anyway, hands trembling. "He left me, Daniel. Said he can't handle drama. He doesn't even believe the baby's his." I stood there stunned. "So it's over?" She nodded, then whispered, "Can I come home?" Something in me almost broke again. But then she looked around, her gaze pausing on the photo of us on our wedding day, still hanging by the door. She reached for it like she had a right to. I stopped her hand. "No, Maddie, you don't get to rewrite this place." She sank onto the couch, tears spilling. "Please, Daniel. I made a mistake. I'll fix everything. I'll do therapy, delete everything, anything you want. I just want to come home." I said nothing. When she realized I wasn't moving toward her, she stood, furious now. "You think you're perfect, don't you? You're so calm, so noble. But you push me away. You never listened." I laughed bitterly. "So your solution was to find someone who would listen naked?" Her face twisted, then crumbled. "I didn't know who I was anymore," she whispered. "He made me feel alive. And now," she sobbed harder, "now I feel dead." I didn't say it, but I felt dead too, just quieter about it. Before she left, she looked at me one last time. "You'll regret this. You'll regret letting me go." "Maybe," I said, "but I'll never regret respecting myself." That night, Mom called. "She showed up here," she said softly. "She wanted to talk to you." We sent her away. I thanked her, then sat in silence for a long time, staring at the dark ceiling. It hit me then. I wasn't waiting for her to come back anymore. I was waiting for myself to. The day after she left my apartment for the last time, I woke up to sunlight instead of dread. It felt strange, quiet in a way I hadn't felt in years. The silence didn't hurt anymore. It healed. I called my lawyer and finally started the paperwork. He asked if I wanted to pursue anything on grounds of adultery. I said, absolutely. Saying it out loud felt like exhaling for the first time. Her family tried a few more times to reach me. Crystal sent one long message about forgiveness being divine and how babies need stability. I didn't reply. Ron texted me a video about emotional alignment. Deleted. Bree wrote, "Please, don't let this make you bitter." Too late, I thought. But I was trying. My parents were my rock. Mom came over one weekend and helped me box up Maddie's things. She didn't say much, just quietly folded clothes while I taped boxes. At one point, she held up Maddie's wedding dress, still wrapped in its dry cleaner plastic. "What do you want to do with this?" I thought about burning it. Instead, I said, "Donate it." Dad was more practical. "Get a hobby," he told me. "You can't build a future staring at ashes." So I did. I signed up for a woodworking class at a community center near my apartment. At first, I was terrible. Cut my thumb twice, sanded through 2 planks. But it gave my hands something to do when my head was loud. There was a strange peace in shaping something new from raw material. By week 3, I was building furniture, a coffee table, a bookshelf. By week 5, I started sleeping again. Then came the unexpected twist, a message from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Mark. I think we should talk." It was him, the other man. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. We met at a coffee shop downtown. He looked nervous, younger than I'd expected. When he spoke, his voice trembled. "I didn't know she was married at first," he said. "She told me you were separated." By the time I found out, I was already in too deep. I stared at him, searching his face for malice, but all I saw was regret. "So, you didn't know about the baby either?" I asked. He shook his head. "She told me it was yours." Then, when I saw her post, I knew she was lying to both of us. That hit harder than I thought it would. He looked at me, guilt heavy in his eyes. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. She's complicated." I smiled sadly. "She's a professional storyteller. We both bought the same fantasy." When I left the cafe, I didn't feel hate. I felt free. Because that was the moment I realized I wasn't part of her story anymore. I was writing my own. 3 months passed. Divorce papers filed. Contact minimal. The fog in my head finally started to clear. I'd moved most of her things out, replaced the curtains she picked, even rearranged the living room. The place didn't feel haunted anymore, just quiet, honest, mine. Then one afternoon, a knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, Maddie stood there. No makeup, messy hair, eyes sunken. She looked small. "I just came to talk," she said softly. I should have closed the door, but curiosity, or maybe old habits, made me step aside. She walked in like a ghost, retracing old footsteps, her gaze flicking over the apartment. "You changed everything," she whispered. "Yeah," I said. "Needed some air." We stood in silence until she finally said it, the thing I think she came to say all along. "I lost the baby." My throat tightened. "When?" "Last month." Her voice cracked. "I didn't tell you because, well, I thought you wouldn't care." I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry," I managed. And I meant it. Not for her, not for me, but for the idea of the life that never got to exist. She nodded, tears spilling. "It wasn't his either," she said suddenly. "I did the test. It was no one's." She gave a short, bitter laugh. "Guess karma doesn't skip a generation." I stood there, unsure how to respond. Then she looked up at me, eyes searching. "You were a good man, Daniel. I see that now." "Now." I repeated. "I didn't then," she said. "I kept chasing something exciting. But it was never real. I just didn't know how to sit still with happiness." For the first time since this all began, she sounded honest. Not pleading, not deflecting, just tired. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked quietly. "Because you deserve to hear it from me before you move on," she said. And because I needed to say it out loud, that I destroyed something good. I didn't hate her anymore. I didn't love her either. I just understood her in a way I never wanted to. When she finally turned to leave, she hesitated at the door. "Do you think people like me ever get forgiven?" I looked at her for a long moment. "I think forgiveness starts when you stop lying to yourself." She nodded, whispered goodbye, and walked out of my life for the last time. That night, I sat at the table I'd built myself, ran my hand across the smooth grain, and realized something simple but profound. The worst part of being broken isn't the pain. It's thinking you'll never feel whole again. But you do. Slowly. Piece by piece. It's been almost a year since that night. If you told me back then that I'd wake up happy again, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am, breathing easy, coffee in hand, with shavings on my shirt from the shop. I ended up turning that woodworking hobby into a side business. I sell small furniture pieces now, mostly through local markets. My hands used to shake with anger. Now they shape things that people put in their homes. There's something beautiful about that symmetry, creating steadiness out of chaos. Madison signed the divorce papers in silence. No fight, no scene, just a quiet, "Take care of yourself," as she left the courthouse. That was the final time I saw her. A few months later, Bree texted me that Maddie moved to Arizona to start fresh. I wished her peace. I meant it. The rest of us, my family, my brother, we've moved on too. Tyler and I still joke sometimes, calling the whole ordeal the world's worst reality show. Mom says she's proud I handled it with dignity. Dad just pats my shoulder and says, "Told you a hobby would help." Sometimes, late at night, I still think about the what-ifs. What if I hadn't checked that tablet? What if I'd believed her one more time? But then I remember how it felt to walk into my own home and know the truth, and how much stronger I am because I faced it. Revenge never healed me. Neither did waiting for her apology. What healed me was building again, literally and figuratively. I built a table, a business, a calmer version of myself. Last week, I met someone new. Her name's Elise. She bought one of my tables and asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. We laughed about how we both hate small talk and love quiet. There's no rush, no intensity, no fireworks, just peace. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone reading this, anyone standing in the ruins of betrayal, it's this: you will survive it. You'll hate mornings for a while. You'll replay everything she said until the words lose shape. But one day, you'll notice that the air feels lighter and the silence isn't scary anymore. You'll realize you're not waiting for closure. You've already built it. And when that day comes, you'll smile, sip your coffee, and whisper the same thing I did. Thank you for leaving. I have many other stories. Go to my channel, subscribe so you don't lose us. Give me a thumbs up